Hello, I'm Anthony Schifano, and welcome to the first official episode of Let's Talk Debt. So, today we're going to discuss a general definition of the term debt, what it means. I'm going to be breaking down the specific points of that definition and giving you some specific feedback on each of those points and how those play out in today's economy. So, without further ado, we are going to jump to, you can either get to what I'm looking at through the link below, or through searching the term debt into Investopedia. I do not have any affiliation with Investopedia. Over the years, I've just found them to be a really just easy way to look up financial terms. And this is the article written by James Chen and reviewed by Margaret James. Last updated on October 25th, 2020. So if you're viewing this in the future, they may have made changes, so just keep that in mind. All right, they're saying, what is debt? Debt is an amount of money borrowed by one party from another. That's hitting it right on the head. When you're talking about debt, there is the person that is lending, and then there's the person that is borrowing. Takes two to tango. Alrighty, debt is used by many corporations and individuals as a method of making large purchases. Yes. If you look at a lot of the origins of debt and debt products, both historically in the United States, a lot of the reason that we have debt in the way we have it today is because of a lot of these larger purchases. And that over time, people realized that it made sense for a lot of long-term dealings to use debt to purchase assets, to purchase goods and services that you would never be able to purchase all on your own if you just had to rely on your income and your savings. And then the second part of that sentence, yes, exactly what I said, that they could not afford under normal circumstances. So by normal circumstances, they mean exactly what I just said, that if you would have to save out of pocket to purchase that same item, it would take you so long and you'd be missing out on a lot of benefits of that item that you're actually better off in a lot of cases to use debt, again, not to just use it willy-nilly, but use it in an educated fashion to purchase things that are going to benefit you over very long periods of time. All right, the last half of that definition. A debt arrangement gives the borrowing party permission to borrow money. That's correct. So you have the borrower on one side, lender on the other, under the condition that it is paid back at a later date, usually with interest. So depending on the types of debt you're talking about, and we'll get into that in later videos on specific types of debt, you have a lender on one side, and you have a borrower on the other side. The lender is the one giving the borrower the money. Yay, I have the money. And then the person that borrowed the money, the borrower, is paying back part of that money over a specified period of time with interest. So in a nutshell, this definition is a really good one. I would definitely recommend reading it over a couple times because it really hits all the key pieces. So you always have at least two parties. There's the person lending, there's the person borrowing. Debt is used, and the reason we have debt play such a large role in our economy today is to make large purchases that we as consumers, that corporations, as businesses would never be able to afford without saving up their money over years and years and years and miss out on a lot of opportunities and a lot of those small benefits that you get from some of those larger items over the course of time. And the third part, that at the end of the day, you are having that relationship that money's not free, and we'll get into this in another video as well. There is a future cost. So if you're getting a bunch of money today as the borrower, you are going to need to pay it back in regular intervals, usually with interest, depending on how the debt is structured over time. Alrighty, now we're going to scroll down. I'm going to take a look at the key takeaways here on that article. So, debt is money borrowed by one party from another. Yep, we just recapped that. Many corporations and individuals use debt as a method of making large purchases that they could not afford in normal circumstances. Yes, and again, the biggest part of this one is under normal circumstances means it would take them so long to otherwise save that it makes a lot of sense to borrow to make those purchases happen now. And the third one, in a debt-based financial arrangement, the borrowing party gets permission to borrow the money under the condition that it must be paid back at a later date, usually with interest. The only note I have on that one is usually with interest. I would say pretty much always with interest. If you borrow money from someone and they don't charge you interest, I would consider that a gift. Even if you are paying back the principal, that's a very generous thing to do, is to lend someone money without expecting any interest. And we will get to that in a later video as well. Interest itself, why you pay it, and what it means in a broader context. So in the next video, we'll be discussing, you guessed it, the definition of interest and what role that plays when it comes to debt. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And again, to review as we go, debt is an amount of money borrowed by one party, lent by another party. Debt's used to cover big purchases, and it's borrowed with the condition that the lender gets his money back from the borrower slowly over time under a contract, and that money is paid back both in principal and with interest. If you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments below. Thank you, and have a great day.